Hi, welcome to True North Insight. I'm Jill Davey. I keep forgetting to change my name on the recording, but anyways, it doesn't matter too much. And tonight we're talking about something that isn't maybe talked about it very often, but is a big part of the teachings of meditation and the teachings from the Buddha. And this is the theme of renunciation. Um, And I'm not really sure, like I kind of have this little list that I keep on my desk of possible topics for these kind of talks, and renunciation was on there. I don't know what prompted it because it's been on that list for a while. Um, but certainly it is something that could be a daily practice and exploration because it's very much related to the Four Noble Truths and the ending of suffering. So, and I'll talk more about what the Four Noble Truths are in brief later on. There's one sutta in particular. So, a sutta means the teachings as they were written down, as far as we know it, initially in the language Pali, and the teachings that are from the oral tradition of the Buddha, and these are called suttas. Uh, and I'll put it down below in the YouTube, but some people here like to read the suttas and study them, so I'll just mention what it is in case anyone is interested in that. You definitely do not need to be. You don't need to study suttas or even know what I'm talking about regarding that if that's not your thing. So don't worry about it. It's just there for people that are interested. So Anguttara Nikaya 941 is one of the suttas that I'm referring to tonight. And I'm just going to read a little excerpt, a part of that sutta that is relevant to this. Well, the whole sutta is about renunciation. There's this householder, which is most of us, I think, unless you're a monastic, you're considered a householder, living a life in family or in a home or working and not retreating into monastic life. So there was this householder named Tapusa who went to the at this time, to the Buddha for some advice. And first he talked to Ananda, who is the Buddha's attendant, and then they went to the Buddha. And so he pays his respect to the Blessed One, as it's called in these teachings, to the Buddha, and sat to one side. Ananda, the Buddha's primary companion and attendant, introduced Tapusa, and he explains it this way. Tapusa said, "We are householders who indulge in sensuality, delight in sensuality, enjoy sensuality, and rejoice in sensuality." For us, indulging in sensuality, delighting in sensuality, enjoying sensuality, rejoicing in sensuality, renunciation seems like a sheer drop off. Very descriptive. I love that there's this repetition of, it's like really, you really get that feeling like, yep, most of us householders are primarily moving from pleasure to pleasure. What can I get? What can I eat? How can I control things? How can I get other people to be the way I want them to be? Like, we're always trying to delight in, indulge in, enjoy, and rejoice in sensuality. And so this thought of renunciation is, first of all, completely foreign to most of us. But as he describes it, it seems like a sheer drop off. You can imagine this cliff, like renunciation. What? That means I have to go into a cave, let go of all these delights, all this wonderful sense door delights. And he goes on, yet I've heard that in this doctrine, in these teachings and discipline, the hearts of the very young monks or nuns leap up at renunciation, grow confident, steadfast, and firm, seeing it as peace. So, right here is where this doctrine and discipline is contrary to the great mass of people. so so succinct, and so I can just totally relate. It's like, so young monks and or monastics, monks and nuns, um, apparently leap up at the thought of renunciation, grow confident, steadfast, firm, and seeing it as peace. And he's pointing out, so this is like a big problem with these teachings, because most of us are not there. We don't get it. What, there's this divide. And so the oh, so yeah, at this point the Buddha wasn't fully awakened. He was an unawakened bodhisattva, and so he was still on the path of, and hadn't had the full enlightenment experience. Uh, and so then the Buddha is replying and says, "So it is, Ananda. Even I before myself, be, be, even I myself, pardon me, before my awakening, when I was still an unawakened bodhisattva, thought, renunciation is good, seclusion is good, but my heart did not leap up at renunciation, did not grow confident, steadfast, or firm, seeing it as peace." That's pretty great. I love that. The Buddha, before being fully awakened, was like, yeah, I see that's good. Seclusion is good, but my heart doesn't really leap up at it, right? It's like, yeah, keeping it real. I like that. And so then the thought occurred to him, well, what is the cause? What is the reason? He's always trying to figure it out, trying to understand why my heart doesn't leap up at renunciation, doesn't grow confident, steadfast, or firm, seeing it as peace. And so then he says, then the thought occurred to me, it's because I haven't seen the drawback of sensual pleasures. I haven't pursued that theme. And I haven't understood the reward of renunciation. I haven't familiarized myself with it. That's why my heart doesn't leap up at renunciation, doesn't grow confident, steadfast, firm, seeing it as peace. So this is the key. He of course then goes on to really investigate what is the drawback of sensual pleasures. That's not something we usually do. Sensual pleasure is pleasant. I like it. Let's do it. Let's get that. I want that. Let's try and get things to be the way I want them to be. We don't usually ask ourselves, well, what's the drawback in that? Maybe the drawback, we might think, well, I can't afford it, which is really like, that just makes it want it more. Like, I want it, I can't have it, or I can't get it how I want it. The wanting is still there. And I have this little quote written on a pad in front of me here. And I don't know who originally said it, but it says, you can't try to let go. Letting go is the absence of effort. the holding on or the pushing away is the doing. You see, we think that we can make ourselves let go to renunciate, but it's actually the holding on, the clinging or pushing away, which is the same thing, trying to get rid of what we don't like, trying to get what we do like. That's where the doing is happening, right? And the letting go is just the absence of trying to get or not get. That's what letting go is. It's the absence of effort. Yeah, so he goes on, the thought occurred to me, if having seen the drawback of sensual pleasures, I were to pursue that theme, and having understood the rewards of renunciation, I were to familiarize myself with that, then there's a possibility that my heart would leap up at this, at renunciation. And you can see in that statement, there's so much intention. You know, this is not going to happen naturally because pleasure is pleasant. And if we really want to understand where the suffering is in this, we need to have the intention, like to pursue that theme, as he said, and to familiarize ourselves with it. And with regards to this, what I was saying about letting go is the absence of doing. Joseph Goldstein refers to renunciation as the experience of non-addiction. It's a really helpful phrase. The experience of non-addiction. And this is to see, what is it we're addicted to, clinging to, holding on to. And this can come in infinite variety of forms, from all the things, all the ways we want ourselves to be, the way we want other people to be, the world to be, all the things that we think will be happy when we have them, even mind states that we cling to. Yeah, so many addictions. And so renunciation is the experience of non-addiction. So it's not so much needing to get rid of things or get rid of anything, but really seeing where is the clinging in it and understanding what's the felt experience of non-addiction. And so as the Buddha practiced in his own, before he was awakened, and had these inquiries and said, what if I really pursue that theme and familiarize myself with it? So this is what is required. We need to actually feel, what does wanting feel like? We don't usually do that because we want and we go for it. We try to get whatever the thing or situation or etc. And to actually get super curious and interested in this is extremely insightful. What does it feel like to want? So the next time you notice, like, just reflexively going for something, or even just the thoughts of what we want, see if you can be curious and remember to see, what does that feel like? There's a world of information there in your body that's telling you what wanting feels like. I have a scarf on tonight, but for me, it's right here. These little muscles here. These are my want muscles, and because they like start to contract so that I can get it, reach for it before I even notice it. Just like this, some of you have heard this before, but on the 3-month retreat, that they made ridiculous fresh bread every day. It was just like, oh, come on, you're killing me. and that was for the evening meal, which I was trying not to eat with the 8 precepts. I wasn't eating, but this bread every day, these different crazy smells and flavors and incredible stuff. I remember a vanilla cardamom one once that was torture. And so I was actually went to the dining hall and was like, okay, check it out. Let's take this on as a practice, right? And I was like smelling it, watching other people eating it, and I was like, where is this wanting in the body? Like I was trying to feel where is the wanting sensation, because every thought also has a sensation in the body. And so I was curious, where is this wanting? I was like I was feeling into the body, couldn't really notice anything because it was kind of far into the retreat. I was pretty physically relaxed, and then I could just feel that in this because I'm right-handed, in this muscle, there was just that was a little contraction there. I was like, oh, there it is. Because it was just like, that's, get it, get it. It was already contracting to reach, even though, I was just sitting there observing. And as soon as I felt that sensation and noticed it, it released. And then the wanting was gone. No problem. Left the dining hall, no more craving. It was amazing. And we know that everything that is of the nature to arise is also of the nature to pass, right? Everything is impermanent and conditioned. And what is so amazing and is so uncomfortable is to feel wanting. I find it amazing how strong that sensation is, how uncomfortable it is to want, and just hang with it for a bit. Oh yeah, wanting. Where is it? What's it feel like? Maybe a completely different place for you, I'm sure. Where do I feel it? Is it in my gut? Is it in my jaw? What I want to say? Is it in my, this muscle here? What I'm thinking about? What I want? Is it, in my hands tensing up? A lot of time the back of my legs or buttocks contract because they're like wanting to go and get something or do something. Get really curious and interested. Now, yeah, so there's two aspects. One is this physical sensation, and of course all the thoughts that feed it. Yes, you deserve it, you should have it, why don't you get it, have more, that come along. But the sensation is key. And then there's this even stronger, I think, sensation of the relief, temporary relief of satisfying the wanting. So there's first a sensation of wanting, and we barely hang out with that. Check it out. And then it's compounded by the sensation of relief when we get what we want. This is very temporary, and it's an endless pursuit called samsara, the wheel of becoming and rebecoming and rebecoming. Yeah. And the Buddha that tells us in his direct experience of awakening and the ending of suffering that there is an even greater peace and ease when the wanting passes without that temporary release of getting something. We barely have a chance to notice that. So see if you can explore that on your own and see what's it, is that an even greater peace than if I just like had the bread. Yeah, it is. The peace of feeling free from wanting, from desire, clinging, is much greater than any. I mean, I'm giving such a mundane example, talking about bread, but that's how it shows up in daily life. One of the ways, one of the ways. All right, I'm talking a lot. Let me just see if what else is needed here? Um, yeah. So this, of course, is greatly related to thinking, thoughts. It's it's all. There's another sutta which is in the Majjhima Nikaya 19, which is a sutta about the two kinds of thoughts. And this is a very important teaching where the Buddha decided to, again, before his full awakening, um, the thought occurred to him, why don't I keep dividing my thinking into two sorts? So I made thinking imbued with sensuality or desire, thinking imbued with ill will, and thinking imbued with harmfulness of any sort. So ill will and desire basically are into one category, and then thinking imbued with renunciation, with non-ill will, with harmlessness as another category. So he's kind of was sorting his thoughts into just noticing, oh, is it harmful or non-harming? Is it greed, desire, aversion, ill will, or renunciation? And so he kept practicing this way, really heedful, ardent, resolute, and then um, was really able to see and feel and directly experience that thinking that is overcome with sensuality, with desire, leads to my affliction, or to the affliction of others, or to the affliction of both. He said it obstructs discernment, promotes vexation, absolutely, and does not lead to unbinding freedom. So really look closely at, the content of our thoughts, actions, words, and does it cause suffering for yourself or for others, or is it freeing? And otherwise, we're just going to continue to be just driven by habit, like puppets on a string, always trying to get and not get, um, and just continuing on this cycle of addiction. And it's a very important part of the path, renunciation, and to pay it doesn't happen. The letting go is not like something we do. The letting go happens when we clearly see the suffering of the holding on. The way we do that is by feeling the sensation in the body and observing the content of the thoughts, the mind states. When we actually really feel how much suffering there is, then the letting go happens. It won't happen unless we see how much suffering it's causing us and others. And this is not going to happen unless you have an intention to do this. It's not going to happen. So, some curiosity is encouraged. Check it out. I'd love to hear back from you what you notice. And we're going to have a practice tonight to just notice sensations and thoughts with regards to renunciation um, and clinging. Okay, so let's get comfortable for your practice. You can lay down or stand up or sit. Change your lighting or turn away from the camera if you like. From the computer, I mean. Make sure you're warm, comfortable. You're welcome to lay down if you're experiencing pain. That might be a helpful posture. And the poem tonight that I'll also share just as we're going into the practice is called One Morning, and it's by, yes, Rosemary Watola Trummer. She actually read me my birthday poem this year on a video. It was so sweet. What a lovely gift. Okay, so, and this poem is particularly referencing thoughts and mind states of clinging and of renunciation. All right, so as we settle into our posture here, feeling supported, hopefully some comfort, uprightness. Some support and rest. And then finding a posture for the eyes that feels restful, whether that's eyes closed or slightly downward and resting. Just reducing our outward stimulation and constant feeding of desire through the eye sense door. One Morning by Rosemary Watola Trummer. One morning, we will wake up and forget to build the wall we've been building. The one between us, the one we've been building for years, perhaps out of some sense of right or boundary, perhaps out of habit. One morning we will wake up and let our empty hands hang empty at our sides. Perhaps they will rise as empty things sometimes do when blown by the wind. Perhaps they simply will not remember how to grasp, how to rage. We will wake up that morning and we will have misplaced all our theories about why and how and who did what to whom. We will have mislaid all our timelines of when and plans of what, and we will not scramble to write the plans and theories anew. On that morning, not much else will have changed. Whatever is blooming will still be in bloom. Whatever is wilting will wilt. There will be fields to plow and trains to load and children to feed and work to do. And in every moment, in every action, we will feel the urge to say thank you. We will follow the urge to bow. So we invite this sensation of open hands, empty hands, that simply you're not remembering how to grasp. It might even be helpful in your posture tonight to have the palms turned upward if that feels comfortable. Not necessary, just a possibility. And we're just landing and feeling ourselves sitting in this present moment, or reclining, standing. And just simply being. And with the stillness of the body, relative stillness, and minimizing the distractions of moving and doing and looking and tasting, just bringing stillness to some of our sense doors. This relative stillness can become the canvas on which we notice arising and passing of wanting. Of course, the flip side of wanting is not wanting, so it may show up as through the hearing sense door if there's unpleasant sounds. Is there an accompanying series of thoughts and sensations that want to get rid of something that's deemed annoying? Or it might show up in the hearing sense door with pleasant sounds that bring a series of thoughts and sensations of wanting. Can be very subtle. This also might show up as we're um, as we continue with some physical stillness, with the desire to move towards a more pleasant posture or away from something unpleasant. And of course, this may show up with thoughts. as the Buddha explored before his awakening of seeing the different categories or sorts of thoughts that arise, thoughts of sensuality or thoughts of ill will. And do not move too quickly to get rid of anything, but instead bring curiosity to, does that bring what sensations? Contractions? Does the attention move out of the body towards some thought, some imagined place or situation? If there's nothing standing out for you tonight that feels like a place to inquire with this experience of sensual pleasures or renunciation, you could just continue practicing with however things are for you, or you could bring some intention and curiosity to actually allow some reflection. What is something that there is some wanting around? And let yourself think about it, ponder it, imagine it, feel it. And then notice what sensations and thoughts come with that. And as we know, everything that's of the nature to arise is also of the nature to pass when we don't hold on to it, cling to it, or push it away. Letting go is the absence of effort. So when you're ready, not adding any stories of feeding the holding on or the pushing away, feeling the sensations in the body, if that's available, and then noticing perhaps this greater peace or ease that can be known when the wanting passes. the experience of non-addiction. Perhaps we even have clinging to being a good meditator and what that we think that looks like. We can certainly have clinging to pleasant states of meditative states of peace or calm, and be clinging to trying to get that again. And seeing this as another clinging or holding on. Letting go is the absence of effort. The drawback of sensual pleasures is that they are never satisfied, ever. The reward of renunciation is great peace and ease, freedom from wanting. What is the felt experience of perhaps not needing anything else in this present moment? last few minutes of the meditation, allowing yourself to really familiarize yourself with the felt experience of in the body and in the mind of whatever is here for you now, whether that's sensual pleasures arising in wanting of sensations in the body, or any of the sense doors that are receiving information, or familiarize yourself with the felt experience and mind states of renunciation. Perhaps there's the experience of not wanting or needing anything else in this moment. Just this. It's just fine. I mentioned at the beginning that I would come back to the Four Noble Truths, and then I didn't. So I just make that connection for anyone that thread was left hanging, like, what does that mean? What you talking about? So the Four Noble Truths is a little shorthand way of saying what the Buddha awoke to when he had his experience of enlightenment and liberation. And the Four Noble Truths in ultra brief form are that there is in this life experience suffering, pain, loss, grief, not, which means basically not being able to keep everything that we want and get rid of what we don't want. And then he also understood and saw clearly that there is a cause of that pain, that suffering, that despair, and all the different flavors and layers of it. The cause is clinging. When there's a cause for something, something that gives rise, conditions something, there can also be the ending of that. If you take away the cause, there can be the ending. So the first noble truth is that there is suffering that's part of this human experience and experience for all life, sentient life forms on this earth. That so there not that life is suffering, but that is one aspect of this life. And there's a cause for it, which is the second noble truth, which is clinging. And if there's a cause, there can also be an ending if we take away the cause. Yes? So that's the third noble truth. The fourth noble truth is the way to the ending of suffering, the path, the middle way, which so in this, in what we were talking about tonight with renunciation, to notice the even greater peace and ease that can be known when the wanting passes, not the temporary fix of, satisfying the want, which we know is an endless pursuit. I'm sure you've noticed that by now. But keep trying. So when we, in that understanding, are the four noble truths are there in this teaching of renunciation. It's he, as he said, it's, if I was really to pursue this theme and to really experience the drawback of sensual pleasure. So he was really curious. Oh yeah, I can feel there's suffering here in this wanting and then constant round and round getting something else, becoming someone else, etc. So this is the first noble truth. And the second noble truth, seeing the clinging in it, the clinging. And so understanding, okay, letting go, the clinging is the doing, yes? And so when we stop the clinging, the letting go happens. Everything that is of the nature to arise is of the nature to pass when we're not working so hard at holding on to it. And in that practice is the fourth noble truth of right intention, right view, seeing clearly what's happening. I can't go further into that tonight. So right intention, right view, right speech. What internal speech, what outer speech, right action. Are we constantly getting or letting go, renunciating? Right mindfulness is required, of course. Right effort is 100% required. So these are all, some of the aspects of the fourth noble truth, the middle way. Yeah, so just wanted to circle back to that, of how renunciation is part and parcel of this exploration of Four Noble Truths are part of that. All right, so for folks that have joined on the YouTube channel, there's some links down below to the poem, and I'll also cite these suttas that I mentioned, and there's a link to offer support to myself to continue offering these teachings and practices. Any amount of donation is greatly appreciated as you're able. Oh yeah, and there's a fundraiser coming up for True North Insight as well, with Joseph Goldstein, who I cited in the talk tonight, and Don Mauricio and Pascal Auclair. It's May. I'll put the link down below in the YouTube recording. Yeah, so thank you for joining in. Yeah, and if you're here on the Zoom call, you're welcome to stay for a bit if you're able to. And stop recording.